Hi, everyone. This is Peter Krauth. We are at the Metals Investor Forum in sunny Vancouver, and I am with Eric Zaunscherb, who is CEO of GR Silver. Eric, thank you for being with us.
Peter, thanks very much for having me.
It's a pleasure, as always. And Eric, a lot of great stuff is happening at GR Silver. A really exciting turnaround has taken place under your watch. And I'd like to start with that. Tell us about that. Really has been some tremendous change over the last several months, perhaps even year or so, and maybe fill us in on what's happened.
Sure. Well, we delivered on time and exceeding expectations a resource update in March 23. So that was the promise, the request, the promise made to the owners. The owners wanted to see us drill, and deliver ounces. And so we did that. Unfortunately, to accomplish that, one has to go through a fair bit of dilution to achieve that. So we arrived in the middle of June of last year, having delivered this wonderful resource update and having established a clear understanding of what the geological drivers are of mineralization at the Plomosas Project, 100% owned in Sinaloa, Mexico, having come up with a geological model that's delivering new discoveries, new targets, but in a failing market, a market that's a real challenge. And so by the middle of June, we were sitting at around $32,000, $33,000 in the bank and sitting there with a massive working capital deficit. And that deficit came from mining concession arrears in Mexico that had not been paid and getting bigger through penalties and interests. So that was something that we had to deal with. That was the albatross, the anchor around our necks. So a few weeks ago, we announced a deal, and that deal is with a private Mexican company that would buy the subsidiary. We lose some land. We don't lose any ounces, but we also lose the debt. And that is a massive thing for us. So knock on wood, over the next few weeks as we close that particular deal, GR Silver is a different company.
Wonderful. So that explains the turnaround and the considerable, really considerable improvement in share price.
Yeah.
And that's exciting for anybody who's watching and anybody who's an investor because it suddenly looks a lot more attractive.
It does. And so we've jumped from 3.5 cents to the 21 cent area.
Amazing. So Plomosas, tell us about how that has grown over the last few years.
Sure. Well, the Plomosas Project includes the Plomosas former mine that was operated from 1986 to 2001, and it includes the San Marcial project to the south. And so Plomosas, as a former mine, is a very low risk situation, 100% owned, fully permitted, fully developed, with 7.4 kilometers of underground development. So there's a low risk aspect to that. So we have a good handle on the mineralization there. There's some upside. We could do some further drilling, but the real jewel in the crown is San Marcial. So there was a small resource. The geological model became crystallized. Marcio Fonseca, our president, COO, and founder, has done a great job with the geological team in understanding the controls on mineralization. And so having that geological model, there was the potential for new mineralization to the southeast of San Marcial, and the very first hole in that target hit 102 meters of 308 grams of silver, not silver equivalent, silver. Right. So that was a magnificent intersection. We've been able to add the resources by expanding the southeast discovery, and now we can't wait to get back and drill on that.
No doubt. Yeah, that's great potential to look forward to.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So remind us about the resource, the grades, and the advanced stage at Plomosas.
Right.
The resource is quite sizable, and the grades are also quite attractive.
Right. And we're looking at roughly 77 million ounces of silver in all categories. On a silver equivalent basis, we're looking at around 134 million ounces on a silver equivalent basis. A grade, you're looking at around 110 grams silver. The fascinating thing about mineralization there is that, first of all, it's very wide and very thick. And so you've got this hydrothermal breccia, which is basically blasted rock and broken rock, that's very significant widths, averaging around 22 to 25 meters thick. You're not chasing small veins here.
Right.
Okay. The neat thing is that when you sample that core, you might get, call it 90-gram silver. But there are these cross-cutting structures that carry high-grade precious mineralization. And those high-grade structures are younger. So they came through on an angle through that hydrothermal breccia, carrying and lifting the precious metals content. So although the average grade of the resource right now might be 110 grams silver, the average grade when Plomosas was mined was 190 grams. So when you mine, you wrap your arms around the rock and you take those cross-cutting structures.
Right.
And there's also a 0.96 gold credit there as well. So that's nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. I'll take gold anytime.
It helps. It's nice. So it's nothing like silver though, right?
Right. You bet. But if we're going to get credit from another metal, gold is nice to be the other metal. Absolutely. Indeed. What's the plan to advance GR Silver, and what are the catalysts for 2024?
Right. Well, the very first thing is closing this deal with the private Mexican entity. And once we do that over the next few weeks, then that has removed that anchor. We're able to then to move forward. We are getting some exercise of warrants right now, which is great to see. It keeps the lights on, allows us to move forward. But really, we need to decide what we want to do for the next while. And the very first thing is we want to get back drilling. And that's going to take a few months to, get the machine going again and get all that moving forward. We also need to do the technical studies. As I mentioned, San Marcial is the plum. So we're looking at different ways of monetizing what's happening at Plomosas, the former mine, but then we get into a process of technical studies and permitting for San Marcial down the road. There's a small deposit off to the side, a parallel structure called San Juan, where we've been doing some test mining, some bulk sampling, working in partnership with a local mining company. And they've been doing a lovely job of mining and processing material at San Juan. And that, get a nice little check out of that. Sure. Pays for things that are going on in Mexico, but we get great information from that, and we get a great relationship with the local miner.
Excellent. One last question, and that is, how versus peers, how is your silver in the ground being valued? How would you rate that?
Right. Well, as a former mining analyst, spent 34 years as an analyst tracking these things. I track hundreds of companies, but if we're looking strictly at silver, back in October, we were trading at 30 cents US per ounce in the ground, measured and indicated silver equivalent. And at that time, we were sort of middle of the pack of the Mexican peers. As we've changed the narrative over the last few months, as we've demonstrated that we're moving in the right direction, that's gone from 30 cents to 81 cents US per ounce M+I silver equivalent. So there's been a great move in valuation. There's been a recognition of what we're doing to turn this company around.
Well, that's really very rewarding. I can only imagine for you.
And it allows me to sleep past 3 in the morning as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of sums it up. An exciting turnaround story. I think everybody here, who's watching, if they're not already investors, should have a close look at GR Silver, the work that you're doing, and we will continue to track this story. This is a really, really nice development story.
Well, thank you very, very much, and please continue the great work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Following silver and the equities.
Appreciate that.